I struggled for years trying standard time blocking schedules that ignored the realities of entrepreneur life. If you're an ambitious woman juggling all the things from business, babies, and big goals, then these time blocking strategies I'm going to share with you today will transform your productivity. And I've coached dozens of ambitious women, from solopreneurs to seven-figure CEOs, and the one thing I know for sure is how to help busy women do more in less time. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to up-level my 3-7 time blocking method for the boss life, how to move the needle in your business on what matters most in less time, and introduce you to a new way of boss time management that will help you scale your business without burnout. To start, let me show you the boss way to use my 3-7 time blocking method. So as a quick refresher, if you aren't familiar with my time blocking method, here's a quick crash course before we level it up. Firstly, I teach what I call my BBB method when scheduling your week, that begins with booking your weekly non-negotiables like meetings and weekly routines, completing a weekly review, and deciding what tasks need to get done this upcoming week, and batching those tasks on various batch days, and ending with time blocking each individual task using my 3-7 time blocking method. And this time blocking method consists of 3 blocks: your morning, work, and evening blocks. And within those blocks are 7 routines: your early morning and morning routine in your morning block, your AM work, lunch, PM work, and wind down work routines in your work block, and an evening routine within your evening block. I will link 2 videos in the description that dive into these deeper, but let's move on to up-leveling this time management system for entrepreneurs. Have you ever played Monopoly with that person that has no real strategy and just buys anything that they land on? Then when the time comes and they finally land on something high value like a property like Boardwalk, they don't have the money to buy it. That's what it's like when you're just going through the motions in your business on autopilot, doing things without a real strategy. If you expend all your energy on things that don't move the needle, you won't have the time and the energy to work on what matters most. So the first thing I want you to do as an entrepreneur to up-level my 3-7 time blocking method is to pause between your weekly review and adding things to your weekly to-do list. Many of us have heard of the Eisenhower matrix, but I don't think it's that useful for entrepreneurs. Just because it's urgent or important doesn't necessarily mean you should be the one doing it in your business. And in fact, I think that asking, is it urgent and important, is the wrong question to ask. Let me actually draw this out for you. What I actually think we should be asking is, how much is something you coded and how much is it impacting our business? So you coded an impact, and you coded meaning, is it energizing for you, you're passionate about it, or you're the face of it? And then on the horizontal axis, we just, how much is it impacting your business in a positive way? And this is what I call the boss matrix. So let's talk about how to actually use this matrix. This bottom left, which is low impact and low you coded, is what I call the swamp. And I'm going to highlight this area red, actually, this swamp. Because let's be real, most entrepreneurs are stuck here, drowning in a swamp of admin perfectionism and micro decisions that don't move the business forward. So these are things like fiddling with fonts, responding to every comment, or manually fixing tech issues. You feel busy, but you're just kind of spinning. It's like watering weeds and then wondering why your garden isn't growing. And so you don't need to be better at doing these things. You actually need to stop doing them entirely. You need to eliminate these. And for me, this was eliminating posting on Instagram. It was something that I actually enjoyed, and I had all these ambitions to grow on Instagram. But when I really got to the bottom line, it was draining me posting on Instagram. I came to the point where I didn't like it anymore once algorithms were changing. And when I looked at the analytics behind my business, it wasn't driving people to buy from me, learn from me, or gain any real value from me. So this was something that I actually eliminated. So this top left corner, which I'll put in yellow, is highly you coded, but it's actually low impact. And this is what I call the candy bowl. And I call this the candy bowl of entrepreneurship because it's sweet, it's satisfying, but actually it's low in nutritional value when it comes to your business. This quadrant is sneaky because it feels good because it's in your zone. It's actually things you enjoy. It might be things like answering DMs, designing graphics, or over editing your slides for your presentation. These things light you up, but they don't actually build the business in a really impactful way. It's like a candy bowl. You don't need to throw it out, but you do need to limit how often you reach for it. So you want to do these things sparingly. So for example, I give myself a little window, about 30 minutes a week, to answer YouTube comments. This is something I've actually been advised to stop doing because as you grow, it becomes more time consuming and doesn't really add to your bottom line or give real value in a short comment. But it's something I enjoy, is talking to you guys. So I just put a timer on myself. I give myself 30 minutes a week, and what I don't get to that week, I'll get to the next week. So just to reiterate, this yellow area, the candy bowl, it feels good, but it feeds nothing. So let's move on to this bottom right area, which is high impact and low U coated. I'm going to put an orange. So I'm going to put this area in orange, and I call this area that is high impact but low U coated the engine room. And the reason I call this area the engine room is it's critical to the ship, but not where the captain actually should live. This quadrant is packed with things that matter, like editing videos, managing email flows, and maintaining your website. But just because it's important doesn't mean that you should be the one doing it. Actually, there's probably people that can do it better than you. So in this order, you're either going to automate, systemize, or delegate in this area. So for me in this example, this would be something like video editing. It is something that is important, obviously, for my YouTube videos, to have my videos edited, but it's not necessarily U-coded, meaning it's not my area of expertise. And there is someone out there that can do it better than me. Shout out to my editor, Angel, who I so appreciate. So in business, it's our goal to be working on the business, not always in the business. As we're building, we don't always have the option to delegate, especially in those early days, which is where automation comes into play with all the software we have at our fingertips. And systemizing, if it's not something that you can automate, is really the key to optimizing your time on these things. But eventually these things will likely be things that you delegate. So your role is to design the engine, not get caught in the gears, because again, just because something matters doesn't mean it needs to be done by you. Okay, so moving on to our top right area, which is highly U-coded and highly impact, which I'm putting in green. This is the area I call your CEO flow zone. So this CEO flow zone, this is where we will aim to spend most of our time on U-coded and high impact tasks. So even if you are a solopreneur now, this is where you should be aiming to spend most of your time. This is your zone, that area of greatness, if you will. These are the tasks that only you can do, and they build the legacy and drive the mission of your business. So these are things like filming content, casting vision, creating frameworks that guide what you teach your clients, or designing your next product. It's not just impactful, it's actually energizing to you. And when you're in the zone, you're not just building a business, you're actually leading your business with alignment. And you will still find, even in this area, ways to get support in these tasks to optimize your time. So this is where I use the 10-80-10 rule that I learned from Dan Martell, which is basically I will start the first 10% with my vision and my branding, for example. Then I will get help with 80% of the heavy lifting to finish a task or project. And then I will put the finishing touches with the last 10% on the project. So for instance, when I designed my planner, it was my vision, my content, my design, all of my techniques, but I got a graphic designer and then my supplier to help me with the 80% of actually bringing the physical thing to life, and then added my final edits and revisions to the product at the end to help the product come to life. And that way I stayed in the flow, I stayed in what my skills were, what I know best, and the business scales without me trying to do everything like printing, which I have no business doing. So in this area, this green area, this is where vision becomes velocity. So we also have this top right area that is very U-coded and very highly impacted, or creates a lot of impact on the business. The most of each of these areas is this top right green area right here, and I call this the visionary task zone. And these are things that are going to be done 100% by you or you and your partners if you have them. And this is where you will create the visions for the company. These are things that you should be in charge of and you should be doing 100%, kind of like the chief visionary officer, if you will, in that visionary task zone. By the way, I do actually have a workbook with all these strategies that I'm talking about in this boss matrix and that I'm sharing in this video, and all the strategies that we'll get to now. It's linked in the description below for free if you would like that workbook. But here's the thing, knowing what to add to your weekly to-do list as an entrepreneur is a far jump from actually getting them done. Next, I'm going to show you how to get more done in less time the boss way. So imagine you're filling buckets with water from a hose. You have multiple buckets representing different areas of your business. You could spray water back and forth into each bucket, splashing everywhere, wasting water and barely filling anything, or you could strategically batch your efforts, directing a steady, focused stream into one bucket at a time, quickly filling each to the brim before moving on. Strategic batching is like that focused stream. It lets you fill each area of your business quickly and efficiently, creating measurable progress rather than scattered efforts. So now that you have your weekly to-do list, here's how I suggest you apply batching as an entrepreneur using batch days. So actually, let me draw this out for you. I'm going to use a triangle to demonstrate this. And then we'll go back here. And what I want to get across to you with this is that batching as an entrepreneur really is a strategic way to manage your time as an entrepreneur. So this is what I hope to highlight for you with this demonstration and give you ideas to actually do yours. Let's also put in the lines. We'll have one line here, one line here, we'll have one line there. So the first batch day category actually addresses chaos and clutter. Without this layer, the business is disorganized, reactive, and constantly fighting fires. So what we do to stop things from falling between the cracks here is our admin tasks, or you can call these operational tasks in the business. And these are the automated or systemized maintenance work. A lot of this will eventually be delegated, like we talked about before, if you're in the beginning stages of your business, or you might be automating and systemizing them now, or executing them using a 10-80-10 method if you are keeping them. And when we get these things done, it actually allows for stability and also scalability in our business, because these are those things that really clear the chaos and the clutter. And that's because having foundational systems in place creates operational consistency, and it actually frees you up for higher level work, which we're going to get to. And this second batch day category actually addresses invisibility, and it also addresses inconsistency. Without this layer, you're invisible to your ideal audience, and you're usually seen as inconsistent. So here we're going to batch those tasks, which I call our on-stage task, right? Which can also be called, if you're fancy, marketing, if you're from the business world. And for most of us in this day and age, depending on what kind of business, but most of us, this is going to be things like content creation, content marketing, ad creation, PR, etc., some type of marketing. Basically, these are the marketing activities that drive visibility, connection, and customer acquisition. And when we get things done in this area, it allows us to have visibility and trust. And that's because strategic and consistent marketing and messaging, we all know, establishes you as the go-to in your industry or field and builds connection with the customers that you serve, the people in your community, and the people you're trying to give value to if you can show up consistently and be more visible. And the third batch day category actually addresses stagnation and short-term thinking. Without this next layer, you're stuck in the hustle mode. You're actually lacking direction and long-term growth. So this is another batch day that's very, very important. So here we're going to batch our business development and personal development as it relates to our business. So this is the strategic planning, systems building, skills building, and the CEO decision making. If you can get these batched on a day, you can get into that deep work and get into a flow state, so you can really do this work in a way that moves the needle for your business. And when we get things done here, it creates growth and it creates leadership. And this type of growth and leadership enables you to steer your business with intention, make data-informed decisions, and become a strong leader, because you are consolidating your efforts into one day, so you actually have the space to do this type of work the right way instead of the fly. The last batch day category I want you to consider addresses burnout, and it also addresses misalignment. Without this layer, you feel disconnected from your purpose, and you get stuck in those low-level execution tasks. So here we are going to batch deep work and our visionary tasks. So this is the mission-aligned, high-impact, creative work that defines the future of your business. And when we get things done in this area, it creates legacy and leverage. And this is where breakthroughs happen, really. You'll get your biggest ideas born in this time and executed. You are actually setting the stage for long-term impact when you're able to create these type of batch days. And all of these batch days that I'm giving you really are aimed to help you make the most of your time as a boss. The result of batching in alignment with this pyramid is that your time becomes a tool for impact and not just output. And don't forget, I do have that free workbook below that will help you implement all of this for yourself. But when you stop your time management here, this is where most people fail. But when you add this next step, you truly transform your ability to get things done in the most efficient way. So let's talk about that. When I was in middle school, I ran the mile race while most of my friends were trying to be sprinters. I actually loved long distance running because I didn't have to go hard right out of the gate. I could pace myself majority of the time and then gather everything I needed and I had inside left in me to sprint at the end to the finish line. And that's exactly how I managed the time in my business from a bird's eye view. So everything we've talked about up until now is perfect for day-to-day rhythm in your business as an entrepreneur. But let's be real for a second. Running a business is not all roses and ice cream, as much as I love both of those. There are going to be seasons when your business needs more from you. Things like launches, campaigns, unexpected opportunities, those moments where you have to push a little bit harder, go a little bit longer, and hustle just a little bit more than usual. That's why I want to share this final tip. Learn to cope ahead by thinking like a long distance runner, not a sprinter. Because when you plan your year like a race, you can pace yourself and then you can choose when to sprint. So let me show you how this works one more time. I suggest strategically coping ahead like a long distance runner for your quarters. So we'll have day 1 here and we have day 90 here. So most of your time will be spent here in this pace zone where you'll be doing your regular routines. So you're going to pace yourself with your regular day-to-day business routines in this area, things like posting content, weekly newsletters, regular fulfillment, and customer service. Those things that you're in a regular pace of doing, right? So this pace zone, let's put in green here. But you will also have what I call your sprint zone. When it's go time, like when runners sprint at the end of your mile races. And I do this by structuring my year around quarterly marketing campaigns or launches, some folks call them. Outside of those sprints, I chill. I focus on my weekly content, keep things steady, and preserve my energy. But when it's go time, I show up, I go live, I'm emailing more, I'm on social every day, I'm really locked in. But it's planned. I know that it's coming because I have coped ahead. And it doesn't always have to be a product launch like mine. Your quarterly sprint might look like a concentrated podcast pitching season where you pitch yourself to podcasts around maybe your book release, or it could be a 2-week blitz of visibility before opening enrollment to your new course. Then after the sprint, you rest, you go back to your pace. But here's where the magic happens really. You also cope ahead in your life, because when you plan a sprint in your business, you need to plan support in your life. So you're also during this time going to get that extra support. During sprints, I might prep freezer-friendly meals or things that I could take out ahead of time or plan takeout. I might contract a copywriter, an extra VA. I schedule extra house cleaning. Sometimes I might even hire a mommy helper to support my husband if I know I'm going to be working late, and I'll set boundaries around the time that I work late because even though it's a sprint, I don't want to burn myself out. So let's put this area here, the sprint zone, in red. And I forgot to tell you guys, this pace zone here is about 80% of my time, and then these two areas here are about 20% of my time when it comes to the quarter. So let me tell you about this next section that is actually part of this 20%. This is where I actually prep my recovery days for after my sprint days. So this is the time I carve out to recharge after those sprints. This is where I might book a massage or just build in more rest into my schedule afterwards after the sprint. So this is where we have our recovery days. Maybe we will put those in orange. And that's what strategic sprints are really about, protecting your peace while building your business by coping ahead. It's not about trying to go hard all the time. It's about knowing when to push and then when to pause, and then also how to prepare for those pushes. So yes, batching, time blocking, and smart planning will get you far, but it's this mindset of coping ahead that will help you go actually the distance, because sustainable success isn't built in the sprint. It's built in the way that you train for the sprint, that you protect your energy and you make make boss decisions about how you will use your time. And don't forget, like I said, I do have that free workbook for you below that will help you implement all of this for yourself. And let me just say, you started this journey working for yourself for a reason. And I'm sure that wasn't to be running around frantically all the time. I bet you started it to create security and freedom in your life. And I hope these shifts in how you think about managing your time move you closer to the real reason, actually, that you have your business. And now that you know how to do this strategically, let's get practical. I want you to watch this video next to learn how I actually organize my calendar using this method. Cheers to planning, manifesting, and enjoying your dream life. Namaste.